Who is, and I mean from a production side, not a talent side. I'll get there, but who from a production side is an unsung hero up there to you?
Eric Tompkins, who not a lot of people know, is our director of post production,
Yeah,
and Eric is um, just incredible. The way his mind thinks, he does all the cold opens and
yeah,
for all the pay per views and the shows, and
yeah.
he's
He is
got a great,
talented.
yeah, great ear for music. Anytime you see the Eric Young vignettes or the things like that,
Yeah,
that's all kind of starts with Eric, and he hates being talked about. He hates
yeah, yeah,
anybody
yeah, yeah.
saying his name, but like that's why you know so much about David Sahadi, and you know so much about Adam Panucci, and but you don't know so much about our guys because
Yeah,
they don't like to be talked about. And
yeah.
Eric and I have lunch every day at TV, and to catch up because he is in Nashville and I'm in Columbus, but he's got such a great mind for what we do and how to present it to the audience.
What's his name again?
Eric Tompkins.
I'm gonna see if we can't.
You got to get him on the show.
Yeah,
He would be awesome. Eric's he's been
he's
in the
stealing
business
me.
for a long time, and he left to go help Jeff start GFW.
Yeah.
So he's a Kevin
Wow.
Sullivan guy,
Oh,
not Kevin
okay.
Sullivan the wrestler, Kevin
Yeah,
Sullivan
Kevin Sullivan. Yeah.
who's at AEW now. So he kind of comes from that tree, right? It's almost like the Nick Saban tree, right, of coaching,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how it kind of branches out, like
Nice.
So Eric kind of falls under that Sully tree.
Exactly. So that look, I'm glad you shouted him out. I don't know if I had an opportunity to meet him or work with him at all, but the packages are good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you watch them and you go like, okay, crap, that's top notch.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. To have a feel for so much more goes into it than pushing buttons. You know what I mean? To have you mentioned the feel of music and the rhythm and the flow of things. And if you don't, sometimes you can't articulate that stuff. But Mansouri was great at it. You know what I mean? I didn't mean was. He is great at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
it was. I would ask him. I would actually, because he was the young dude coming up, and all of a sudden he was just doing it. You know what I mean? I was like, I remember this guy was on the floor when I was running rehearsals or whatever, whatever. Like now he's just running the show, and man, he was really good at it. And so,
Yeah,
like we
with
talked
Mike,
about earlier, you can tell their show's
yeah,
better.
100%. And with Mike, it was great because when the WWE Network started, Mike Mansouri and Mark Palmerico were kind of tapped as the producers of the Raw pre-show and post-show, and
Yeah.
they were very different in the way that they did things. Like Mark almost let me produce those pre and post shows. So that's kind of where I learned, and he was very just kind with me, allowing me to do that. Right? He
Yeah,
could have just said,
yeah.
"We're going to
Give
do
you
it the way I
space.
want." Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and he would come to me after the show, right before the show was about to end, and say, "Hey, what do you want to hit on the post show? Okay, let's do this, and this." Mansouri was different. He wanted to tell me this
Yeah.
is what we're doing.
This is
So
what
as
we're
a
doing.
talent, that was great. As if I was going to be a producer 10 years later, like I am now,
Yeah.
the way that Mark did it was great too. So it was just able to learn from
Yeah,
everybody,
again,
really.
like you, because they are all off the Saban tree, right? They're all off of that ultimate, the best in the industry. I mean, there's no doubt you can't argue that. And so all of these guys learn from there. And look, Palmerico, I ran NXT. Like I did at the Ric Flair show, kind of run rehearsals and then kind of help guide the show a little bit. But I totally was putting myself over and forgot where I was going with that. Can we just stop for a second and acknowledge how good I am, though? Thank you. All of them come from that tree. So then you get to know the Mike Mansouri might snap at you like Kevin, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
Like he might, and he does, and he's going to manage you. He's going to manage you whether you want to be managed or not. You know what I mean? And that's his style. And it got a lot out of me. You know what I mean? Where we would snap at each other, but it was in the heat of battle. And like we learned from the ones before us, when the show's over, it's okay. We're out of the firefight now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
we
And
did
you're on the
we
same
did what
team.
we had to do then.
Yeah. It's just amazing. Then you go back after the show and you go to the hotel and you talk about it. You do a little post-mortem and it's just, and you do it all again the very next week.
The very next day. And you do it because you love it, right? Do you still love it?
Yeah. I do. I do. And sometimes I get mad at myself for still loving it, if that makes any sense.
No, it
It's
makes
just,
perfect sense.
Yeah. And after every pay-per-view, you remember the little stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
we held
The
that replay
one
too
thing
long.
that
Or,
was,
yeah. And it's like I always tell David after the show, or Eric, or whoever I happen to see, you know, it was I'd give us an A-. I'd give us a B+. We missed something here. I could have squeezed that in, you know, a
yeah,
little quicker. But you learn too. And from the first live show that I did, and I really do think COVID was a blessing, because we got to do all those empty arena shows, and that was
yeah,
my first, foray into producing, was empty arenas, no fans, and some people didn't want to go to these shows, and it was
yeah.
like, hey man, we got to go to work, so let's go to work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know. I totally get that. There's always going to be somebody telling you what to do.